Thank you so much for inviting me on this very important occasion, and I would like to thank NFYM and the topic, the idea of India. As you see, I'm also a student of history who is doing PhD on subaltern issues. So I would like to start the institutional evolution which started in the first half of 20th century from 1909 to 1950, how the idea from parliamentary reforms to Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, and then in 1935 Act, how this idea of composite nation, in Hindi we call it Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, evolved through this institutional evolution. How the linguistic variations, literary variations, cultural traditions of all the people, for example, the people who were lower strata of the society, the untouchables, the Adivasis, the minorities, and the different kind of traditions were composited to build the idea of a nation. And after 1909, when we see in 1916, Congress conscious effort to build intercommunal and anti-imperial fronts, and the so-called elite to peasant fronts, Kisan Andolans were there, Baba Ramchandra Dev was there, Madari Pasi was there. So the whole idea of taking up to middle to down to make a nation were there. And if we see the idea of nations, how the untouchables, because my work is based on untouchables, so that's why I'm giving this example, that it starts with the idea of Mahatma Phule. He cites in Gulamgiri how anti-caste radicalism and universal education, gender justice were fundamental to the Indian idea of nationhood. So all these people, and later Dr. Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar put forward this legacy, that how this idea of nations also include these people, not just like a narrow. The idea of nation should not be so much narrow; it should be wide enough to include all these perceptions. And with all of these, the movements were synthesized into the national movement, and this idea of India came in front of me, came in front of us. And one more very important thing, we should look into the national movement, that this colonial struggle of Congress and subaltern struggle of the movement created a shared constitutional compact, which means that these ideas in the making of constitutions were there. We get Article 17, abolition of untouchability. We get Article 15 or Article 16 for the affirmative actions. We get Article 326, universal adult suffrage. It was first in you can compare into any country in the world who were not able to give universal adult suffrage. Earlier it was given to a narrow population, then it given to the other population, then to the whole population. But India, because of our idea of nation, idea of India was there, that this universal adult suffrage were given to the all. And from there we see this, that how our nation makes and how it develops in 5-year plans in the Nehruvian era. Then after that, the different kind of ideas were together. The policy makers were listening to their ideas, were shaping the policies for not just a narrow population, but for the whole of the countries. Even if there were some policies which were not suitable, or I should say were not beneficial to narrow population, then they accepted their mistakes, that these things are negotiable, and we should by taking the suggestions, we should go forward with this. But in the last 10 to 15 years, if we see, in some of the states we are seeing it more than 20 years, for example Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, the so-called Gujarat Vikas model we have seen, and in the central government we have seen in the last 12 years how the very idea which I have talked about, the constitutional reforms to the international movement, and till now is directly they are hampering this idea. Directly they want to include the very how I should define with this, that the crony capitalism, the neoliberalism, when they are in the order, they are snatching the very idea of Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, the very idea of where the untouchables, the minority, the lower strata of society is not suitable to their idea. So it's very important for us, for all of us, for the institutions like JNU or the other universities who can put forward or have some deep negotiations, that how this idea through us can go to the other levels, to the society where we belong, where we have taken our primary educations, our school educations, our college educations earlier before JNU, so that this idea should be grabbed by the local people, that it's not like just we for the people who are not doing PhDs, who are not in different kind of organization. I'm just finishing in 30 seconds. So this idea should be with them, that what we have and what we need to save. Thank you so much.